went
and
through
like,
insurance, but
hi, how are you? Can't afford to rent there.
most technically, yeah, but because we wanted some higher education, and that's like the.
I mean, let's become billionaires. Become billionaires, for sure. Then we can have a whole separate conversation. But yeah, that's about like while we're in our like median range. Yeah, I think we're like. Yeah, it's going up really well. Yeah, we like that. I like that part. That's going well. I see a lot of people able to come in and out. You guys have done and it's hard because it's always like this. Coming in, it's much different than getting a paycheck at the end of every month.
I know, I was just having this conversation with the idea. You kind of feel good, like knowing you're going to get a chance and then, although we're doing shopping somewhat, but it's still like not knowing. Yeah, certainty.
I know it just seems like a few years ago, not having that. It's just like 10 years into it. No, I was like the first head now. Because hey, see you. See you. Yeah, I was gonna say we're walking up the whole
Welcome. We are so excited to get today going. We have a risk management meeting, so we want to give Bibi the most time possible. As a reminder, please disconnect from the Wi-Fi, put your phone on silence, and do not block the camera. Bucket fills. Who's got a bucket fill today?
Good. I have a bucket fill, but it's not from me. So the bucket fill is for Judy. So I'm going to give you this card. Oh, I know, right? It's fun. I am actually doing it on behalf of Noble and our team. You have been incredibly helpful in getting everyone involved, and especially with Noble, as he was new to real estate and coming out here getting used to California. So he wanted to fill your bucket. So that's a card for you.
Who else helps? One more. Emily.
Hi, it's Haley here. I'm just letting them know Marwan.
Marwan last.
Okay, well, huge bucket fills for them. They really saved me a month or so ago. Haley and her wife watered plants like every 3 days at one of my listings. And then Marwan did like a bunch of gardening last minute right for my open house. I mean, it would have been atrocious. So I got kind of, he bailed my landscaper out, let's say. So huge bucket fills for them. They were paid, but super nice of them to rise to that occasion because they saved me. So thank you guys.
One more.
I'll give a shout out to Eddie. Where's he? Is he in here?
No, I don't think so. Okay, never mind.
Eddie did a great lunch and learn, invited lunch, and gave us a whole bunch of information about escrow process and step by step and loans and fun stuff. It was really good.
Yay. Property pitches.
We have a place downtown the Gaslight, Trellis, penthouse 11th floor. It's 1115. The street is Trellis is the name, and it's 530 K Street. It's 1 block from Petco Park, 2 blocks from the convention center. It's got a south and southwest facing, so you can see into Petco Park and Coronado Bridge. It's a 2-bedroom, 2-bath, and it's going for $675. HOA is $770.
Say on the 2-bedroom?
Excuse me?
2-bedroom?
2-bedroom, 2-bath. Yep.
Did you say the square footage?
910.
Anyone else?
I have one for Marlon. This is like his 6th listing, you guys, right now, active. It's actually his parents' home. It's a 4-bed, 3-bath. It has a bedroom and a bathroom downstairs, so it's really good for those elderlies that are coming to live with us. It's a newer shade home, less than 2 miles from IB. It's a 2-car garage, lots of upgrades. It's going to be going live as soon as possible. I have the address if you want to write it down, 940 Rolling Dunes Way. So that's, like I said, 2 miles from the beach. I saw the listing agreement. I think it's $899, but don't quote me on that. And I can give you his phone number since he's not here if you want to write it down, 619-410-7236. Contact him for questions.
Awesome. Thank you, Alicia. Nobody else? No one else? KW Cares Month, just as a reminder, if you have a moment, thank you to those who have taken the time to make a donation. If you haven't yet, please just take a picture of the QR code, screen it, and make a donation if you can. Reminder, the classes that we have Monday, Mark Miller's, Wednesdays with Phoebe, all things tech, and then you have Sarah's Daily Spark.
Okay. So, I wanted to just tell you guys about KW Chispa. As you already know, I'm head of Chispa in California. So, I really recommend, especially those of you who speak Spanish, I really recommend you to join the Facebook group. There's a lot of things that are given to the agents, such as, for example, this coming week, I have someone from Mexico telling other people that live here how to invest in Mexico, among other things. And then like Texas region and East Coast, they have a lot of things going on. So whenever you guys have time, just go to Facebook Facebook and look for KW Chispa and just join. Thank you.
And we're gonna play for you guys a video really quick.
Maybe 3 or 4 times, and each time I'm equally impressed on how much it is mindset and action, and the combination of the two obviously produces results. That's why it continues to come back. That's why it continues to be so successful, and that's why I continue to go, because it just re-energizes everything that I do and everything that I'm there to serve, and I love being re-energized in that kind of way. Bold, even from the first time, I saw a significant growth in my business. Probably the very first time I took it, I saw an additional 7 to 10 transactions straight away. And I was newer to Keller Williams. I was with a boutique brokerage. And so when I just saw the combination of how mindset and skills and taking action, simple action at that, really can produce amazing results, I was floored. What were my numbers at the time? Again, like the 7 to 10 transactions, and then each time I took Bold, I continued to refine those skills and get better and better. And I think one of the bigger shifts that happened for me is I overcame some limiting mindsets about the work that I was there to do. So when I would have conversations, I literally thought that people didn't want to hear from me, that I would sound too salesy. And I can't remember what Bold it was in. I think it was in one of Dusty's classes that I really realized that I'm there to serve. And when I come with a servant's heart, it's a game changer. And when you come from a heart of service, you're there to help people. You're there to serve people. And the conversations are not awkward. And you get to actually help them. And in return, it helps your business. I would absolutely say take it.
We will send you guys the link so you watch the full video, but we have it coming up. We have it coming up in August. August 4th will be step 1, and first step is free. So please mark your calendars and be here. We have the new coach for Bold coming in actually to teach it. So we'll have an outside person bringing it in to us. So yeah, that's that.
It's in this office?
It will be in the office.
Okay.
Don't forget Abe, I don't remember his last name. Don't forget as well, if you have education points, you can use them for up to 50% of the registration cost. But again, step one, day one is free. So even if you don't sign up, you want to be here for step one.
Yeah.
Escrow partners, Jacqueline.
Trying to find Aiden's last name. Couldn't find it fast enough. Congratulations. I don't think Wes is here. I don't see him. But congratulations. Wes just opened escrow this week. So congratulations to him. And y'all know I love a good gold chart. It's like my favorite. I love a competition. I get it. So year to date, these are our top 5 agents right now. I don't think he's in the room. This is a tight runoff. Vinny's here. So, I don't know. You and Mike, like...
I'll let him take it.
But we're excited to have Vinny in the room. Thank you, Vinny, for trusting Escrow Partners. And then I saw... Where's Well, I saw him. And he didn't have his baby. You always need to bring your baby. There you are. He's up here on the list. Joe Fair. He's Joe in the room. Is that here today? And then Sal, I feel like he's not in here. But he was probably over there. So congratulations to everybody that made the top list. This is just year to date so far. There's plenty of time, you guys. We're only like end of May. You got a whole 6 or 7 months left. Media Day. So this is what we're going to be doing next week. So this is June 4th. From 11:30 to 1:30, we're going to have the Escrow Partners media room open. We put a table in there. I've been using it to like test shoot some videos just to see kind of how it flows. Noble's been in there helping me. We've got a light, we've got a mic. All you need to do is bring your phone. So if you scan this QR code, and when I get home, I will put this on the Facebook page as well and make sure that Ari has it. Oh, you have it now because I sent it for the meeting. Look at me thinking ahead. But if you go to this QR code, this is a 15-minute time block. So literally all you have to do is show up with your phone and a zip code. The reason you need a zip code is that when you come in, I'll have my computer there. Noble and I will be manning the room. You'll come in, you'll tell me my preferred zip code is 92108. Awesome. And I'll pull stats for you live. We're doing it on June 4th because all of the May data will be in. So I will live pull stats with you. It's that same little thing if you've ever texted Noble and said, hey, I want that little social media thing. It's the same thing. We'll pull your stats live for you, and then we'll just have a couple of words. We have a pre-written script for you ready to go that we just drop in those live numbers for the zip code where you farm or you live or you work. And then that's it. We'll film it for you. Noble's going to help you edit it live on your phone so that you literally walk out with a ready-to-go video. Super short, 30 seconds, post it to your stats. And then what we'd like to do is just get in the habit where you can always just pop in. Do this whenever you want. If you don't want us there, that's fine too. But we will be there to help you in case you want somebody else to hit the start button or help editing. Any questions? I'm going to see you all there. 15-minute slots. If they book up, call Noble. He'll get you in another day. That's it. Easy peasy. Ed.
So I remembered that I had a class to teach today, but I forgot that I had to do this. So look, you guys, industry-wide, I was on a mastermind call yesterday, and we're having a lot of issues with people dropping out of escrow. I'm sure you guys probably noticed that, right? And a lot of it has to do with my side of the ballgame because lenders are not going out there and having the hard conversations with their buyers and going over the numbers with them like they should be, all right? And so all of a sudden you have people that are getting these pre-qualification letters, pre-approval letters. Now mind you, I don't do that. But you have these lenders out there that are just giving these qualification letters and like, hey, you qualify for $800,000, peace, see you later. And next thing you know, you're out there shopping with them, you're getting into escrow, and then, oh yeah, here's your initial disclosures, that's gonna be $6,000 a month. And they're like, whoa, I'm cool with like 3 or 4. And next thing you know, you drop out of escrow, right? And you've just wasted so much of your time and gas and their time and listing agent, like everybody's wasted their time. So it really matters who you guys are working with. Please let me know. I will gladly. And my criteria is to go through, once I get someone pre-approved, we use Mortgage Coach. It's an amazing piece of software that actually goes down and breaks down loans for you. So you can see up to 4 different loan scenarios, and you'll know exactly what those costs are gonna be up front and during the life of that loan, right? And then what a potential refi looks like as well.
So you have a lot of people on the fence being like, oh, I can't swing this $4,000 or $5,000. Okay, well, take a look at what happens when it drops by 1%, right? Look at what happens when it drops by 2%. That has helped a lot of my clients kind of push themselves over the edge, being like, okay, maybe I can stretch a little bit now, maybe not live on ramen, but at least be able to get into that house knowing that I'm going to be lowering my payment in the near future. And having those hard conversations up front is going to save us all a lot of time. So if your lender's not doing it, please call me. You guys all have my number. I'm right in the corner of the office too, so come in and say hi. Thank you guys.
That's it, Judy.
Hey. Hey everybody, how's everybody today?
Good.
I want to appreciate your time today. Yeah, Sam, are you in the room? Thanks for the cold you gave me a few weeks ago. If you guys don't know Sam, he was the keeper of the cold that brought it in. Everybody's going to get it eventually. But I appreciate your time today. How's everybody doing out there? Did you have a good Memorial Day weekend?
Yes.
Did you guys eat barbecue, pool, beach?
No.
No? Who went to the beach? We all stay away from the beach and you live by it, right? You don't want the tourists.
Because we're doing open houses. Yes.
Not yet.
Leave it there, baby.
Just in case.
Not yet.
What if you faint?
I said now I'm ready. Sorry, I've been sick and I've been grumpy. So, this is what we're covering today. I'm not going to go through it because we're going to hit them on the slide. Let's talk about the June 25 forms update. So this will happen in June. This is May. We're not going to do a risk management meeting until the last week of the month. But the June forms release comes out sometime mid-month. What they are, I don't know. But what will be important? We all know what Section 3G3 of the RPA states, right?
Yeah.
What does it state? Anybody want to take a chance?
John?
John, you're the smartest agent in the room. Come on.
That's me.
Yeah.
It's the commission section where you request your fee to be paid by the.
Told you.
And what does it state in 3G3?
Ooh,
You have a side here.
that's a good question. I have to look. I don't remember the wording. What do
You don't? Does anybody remember the wording? Come on.
Seller paying
Nancy
for
said you'll-
buyer's obligation to.
Nancy
pay
said
buyer's
you'll
broker.
get a year's worth of office fees for free. You just told me that.
Nancy would never.
Seller's payment of buyer's obligation to pay buyer's.
Yeah, but that's not exactly right. So here's what it is. None of you guys read the contracts, do you? This is what attorneys love when they love to be able to sue you. So it states this currently. Buyer affirmatively, remember that word, affirmatively, represents that at the time this offer is made, buyer has a written agreement with the buyer's broker that is valid, covers the property, and provides for compensation for no less than the amount stated above. What does that mean? In layman's terms. One person, raise your hand. Okay, go ahead, Dawn.
You already have a buyer's broker's agreement before you wrote the offer, and it is a valid agreement, which means it's no more than 3 months term.
And what happens if it's not valid?
Then the seller doesn't owe you jack.
The seller doesn't really owe you jack if it's not valid.
Valid.
And that's what some lawsuits are happening right now because all this contract states is the buyer affirms. It affirms. In other words, I'm saying, yeah, I got a BRBC in place, but what are we seeing out there in the field? Anybody want to take a guess? We're seeing a lot of invalid ones. I'm seeing ones that are 4 months, 6 months, a year for terms. Ones that are written after the RPA was written.
Those are my favorite.
Question, I don't have the RPA in front of me. So hypothetically, in that scenario, right, if someone doesn't have a valid one, would basically the percentage that's asked for then revert back to the buyer, or does it get taken away altogether?
Yeah, so if you're asking for a 3% to be paid by the seller, but your BRBC only stipulates 2.5%, that 0.5% goes to the seller. Or the, I'm sorry, the buyer.
So even if it's not valid at all, and the whole 3%.
Oh, if it's not valid at all, it doesn't, no. It's invalid, it doesn't even count.
So it still goes back, it goes to
The seller doesn't have to pay anything. Nothing, zilch, nada.
Does the buyer have to pay?
The buyer could have to pay, but it's not a valid VRBC.
So it can't be enforced.
Yes, it can't be enforced. Yeah. This has been something we talk about ad nauseum on the broker statewide calls, and I'm on a what they call a big broker statewide call that we meet with brokers that are 100 agents or more. And we have been going back and forth with CAR on this and CAR legal, because CAR doesn't want to take the stand that they want to say that that you have to prove evidence that you have a valid BRBC in place. So what did we do to counteract that? Remember the seller counteroffer you're supposed to send back to any buyer? Ask for what? That they have to send the BRBC to you before the offer is accepted to make sure that it's valid. Because there's probably 5 or 6 current cases where the seller is suing the listing broker and agent because the listing broker and agent did not confirm or affirm and find out if there was a valid BRBC in place. That's where it stands currently.
So the seller's suing
Sewer.
because he found out after the fact he didn't have to pay, but he did pay.
Stephanie.
So if we're representing the buyer or the seller, and we ask for the BRBC to be sent over and it is not a valid BRBC, do we not accept that? Like, would you suggest that we don't accept that offer, or we just say, we accept your offer, but we won't pay any of the commission?
You could handle it a number of ways. You're basically protecting your principal, the seller, and stipulating, say, what would you like me to do, Mr. Seller? Here's how we can handle it. Here's how we can handle it. So first you go back to the seller and say, hey, this buyer asked for you to pay the buyer broker their compensation, and they don't have a valid BRBC in place. I can go back to them and say, we need a valid BRBC. I can refuse to pay them by your directions. So basically you ask the seller today. But mid-June, they're going to change it to request, make a request by it's going to be a request by the buyer to the seller to pay the buyer broker, and then the seller makes the decision based upon the overall terms of the RPA and the offer. So no longer does the buyer have to affirm. Okay?
Okay.
So the seller then makes the decision based upon the terms, because now paying a buyer broker commission is basically a term. It's a term of the contract. It's a term now that the new NAR rules have been in place since August of last year. So, but you still, in a seller counteroffer, ask for a valid BRBC to be sent over.
The whole thing.
The whole thing. They're also changing where it stipulates the timeline. What does it say right now? Does it say 90 days or 3 months?
3 months. 3 months.
They're changing it to 90 days, I think.
So the idea of, in addition to what they're changing on the RPA, asking for the BRBC, what's the leverage or purpose of it? If it sounds like it doesn't, I was going to ask, I had my hand raised, I was going to ask, does that mean that we don't or no longer ask for the BRBC, but then you said that we did? So what's the role?
Well, you're going to continue to ask for the BRBC in a seller counteroffer. Continue to ask for it.
Should we just ask for it up front?
Yeah.
You could, but they're not obligated to send it up front. And remember, 70% of the agents in San Diego County they work at a brokerage of 10 agents or less. And are they being trained? No.
No, it's if I ask for proof of funds and a BRBC and you don't send either of them, it says something about the strength of your offer. So if I'm a buyer's agent, I'm gonna just attach it and be like, this is a part of my
A
offer.
good buyer's agent would do that.
Okay.
But the 70% of the agents that aren't trained on this,
Right. Gotcha.
certain news personality in San Diego works for a one-person shop. You might want to go see her. None of her Instagram is DRE compliant. None of it. Because she's not trained.
Right.
Nothing against them, but she's just not trained. So any questions on that?
I did have a question.
Yeah.
Let's say I'm in the negotiation period and we ask for that. And like so many agents, I ask, they never send it. And should I tell the seller, don't sign off on
The
this
language
until they
is,
send it?
it's a condition of acceptance.
Okay.
So the
then
language
he's not
is,
gonna sign off on it until it's.
that's a condition of acceptance that BRBC is sent over with the fully executed counteroffer. If you don't have that language, I'll get it to you, and Mark has it as well too. And I've presented it multiple times in these meetings. That's okay. All right, any other questions? All right. Remember, NAR updated their rules about clear cooperation? We talked about this last time. Got a new update. That they are not going to enforce the delayed marketing. They're going to basically say, so you remember what you've seen in the news, Zillow and Redfin had said, hey, if you're going to have this closed network where you're marketing your listings to only your agents and only your buyers who've registered with your buyer, and you're only showing it to those people, we're not going to display those listings on our IDX feed that goes out to the entire public for the life of the listing. Do you understand what I just said?
Yes.
Real clarity. So with the one, there's two companies. One of them is starts with a C. Okay, I didn't say it, but yes. And the other one is based out of New York. They have a closed network, VOW, Virtual Office Website, that all their agents can go see those listings, and all the people that their buyers that are registered with them can see their listings. But when they go and put it in the MLS, Redfin and Zillow have said, we're not displaying it on our website, so we're not going to show it to the buying audience.
How do they know?
Yeah, that was my question.
They'll know. They know. Don't ask me the technical part. I don't get that. They'll know. They'll know. They'll know. Okay? So what is that? What's the benefit for you guys? How can you overcome that objection? If you have a seller that says, God, I really like Compass. They have that network where I can show all my buyers.
Well, once you show all the buyers to one network, then you won't be able to show it to the wider variety. So that's not something that is a benefit to you. It's something that's to your detriment.
Mm-hmm. So there's a huge argument going on within the industry right now in regards to clear cooperation policy. So it's really important that you keep up on that. And if you are a subscriber to Inman, read those articles or Daily Wire or all those industry publications or the car website. It's important you understand how to convey that information to your principals, i.e. sellers, to have the advantage over that. And I gave you a script in last month's presentations. If you don't have it, look for the email that went out. And in that email, I sent that document with the objection handler on how to overcome, and it's also going to be in this document when I send it out, how to overcome that objection with the seller to do what? Secure the listing. Win the listing, right? You can overcome that objection because a couple agents have said, I lost 2 listings because of this company had that. I'm like, well, that's an easy objection handler. Yes, Judy.
I just want to be very clear.
No.
So Redfin does not show their properties on the MLS.
If they are violating and using the delayed marketing tactic and putting it into their closed network.
The reason I'm saying that is I have a situation like that, and I looked in all of the South Bay listings in a certain category. There was not one Redfin listing.
I'm not following.
I did an exploration of all the Redfin listings in the South Bay area that I'm marketing, and there wasn't one Redfin listing there, not one.
Okay.
Is that why?
I'm not talking about Redfin listings.
Okay.
I'm talking about a company that starts with C that's not putting it into the MLS yet. They're putting it in their closed network.
Okay, so how about the R one?
Redfin will put their listings in there, yeah, if they have them.
So there just isn't any Redfin listings.
Okay.
So Judy, basically, they're not gonna allow the IDX fee to go from the MLS to Zillow or Redfin. Redfin and Zillow are gonna stop the IDX fee from going onto their sites. Once the C agent decides to put it on the MLS, it will no longer broadcast into the syndicated sites.
I think what Judy was saying is she's not seeing any Redfin's listings, so she's assuming
They just
that
don't have any.
there's another.
Yeah, they probably don't have
it. That's what she was.
Now that's CRMLS.
So what's FCMLS?
They haven't ruled.
Okay.
So they said, we're gonna probably take the stand similar to what, it's up in the Bay Area. I'm like, great, what's that? But I did advocate for us, and I sent a letter, an email, to CRMLS CEO, and I said, hey, we want to make sure that for fairness and equity, everybody sees the listings, and everybody has a chance to be able to see those listings. And they said they're probably going to take that same stance. But we won't know until September.
But SCMLS already took the stance that.
No, they haven't. They haven't put anything out in writing yet.
So no one is taking the stance.
Only CRMLS has.
Okay, so they did take it.
SCMLS kind of waits and sees what CRMLS is going to do, and they know they kind of have to copy. Yes.
So that C company, if they input it in the MLS and they're not syndicating?
No, if they put it in their personal network first.
Oh, okay, so they can't use Showing Time, which is owned by Zillow, right?
Yes. That's why Zillow bought Showing Time. You see all the bitter politics going on behind the scenes? It's quite fun. And so that's why all these companies are fighting for dominance right now. And we're just going with the flow. Okay, remember last week I said there's the update, or a couple, like 2 sessions ago, I gave the broker advisory about open houses, that no outside agent could do one of our houses. Finally, the DRE has spoken, and the DRE bulletin came out last week. Did you all have the opportunity to download it and read it? Show of hands.
That's why I'm here today.
So the DRE ruled. And they said things to consider. There's a list of 12 things. Does the listing agreement allow the listing broker to have an agent unaffiliated with their brokerage sit in an open house? Do we?
No.
No. What are the seller's expectations? Would the seller agree to this practice? Will the other broker's agency relationship with the seller be disclosed and consented to by the seller? When a buyer walks in to view the property, who would they expect to see? How informed is the other broker about the property and the seller? Is there liability created by allowing a separate broker to sit at the open house? Is the activity covered by other brokers' errors and omissions insurance? Blah, blah, blah. What's the final answer?
No.
Right. So why did I put that rule in place?
To CYA.
Cover my ass, cover your ass, not have the seller mad at you. If you had an outside agent holding the house open and that agent screwed up answering questions to the prospective buyer that walked in the door and told them the wrong thing, and E&O doesn't cover that, or someone falls on the property, E&O doesn't cover that. Because if we're covered by that, we're indemnified in the RLA that if during the term of the listing, if someone comes in and falls on the property, our insurance says, the seller says, your insurance is going to cover that, but they're still probably going to sue us. And our E&O will cover us on that, but they won't cover is an outside agent. Okay? So fun stuff. Questions on that? So, can you go hold another broker's listing open?
Yes.
Yes, I don't give a rat's ass. It's that broker's liability. All right. Now we're going to have an agent panel. So I've asked 3 agents that really got in trouble last month. Because because they did the wrong thing. No, come on up. No, they're great agents.
Don't say that out loud, you'll miss it.
Knock on wood.
Sit in the hot seat.
Sit in the hot. You disclosed that you just asked me 5 minutes ago.
Yeah, Corinne.
We love you.
Oh, by the way, here are the
Questions? Oh, good, I glanced.
Yeah.
So I want to thank
This is my
Corinne.
worst
I
nightmare.
literally asked Corinne, like,
Literally.
when she walked in. I gave you 25 minutes.
But with ADD, that doesn't help me. This is like my worst nightmare. So
Give me the questions, you
thanks,
can't look at them.
No, I don't know. I'm not gonna remember what my answer
I have mine here.
Did you write your answers down? I don't even know what. I just little notes.
She's all
Just little notes.
Emily's like, yeah, just put me up there. Say everything.
Oh, it's today? That was my response. Oh, it's today?
This little bitch. Oh, I can't make it. JK.
No, and he
so
tells me Emily might not make it, so I need you. And I'm like, okay. And then I see Emily come in, and he's like, Emily's here. I'm like, yay! And he's like, but Joe isn't here, so you're still gonna have to. And I don't think Joe's gonna make it, so you're still gonna have. I'm like, oh my god.
I was always coming. I was just messing with
Real quick, name years in the business.
Emily Holmes, 8 years.
That's like the hardest
It's
question.
not that question.
Corinne Isidoro, 2013, so 12 years.
Amy Bloom, 30-something years.
30-something.
36. 36.
Good for you. Started in high school. You started right out of high school.
I was in college. I started in college.
Literally.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, I appreciate your guys' time. So I wanted to do kind of an interactive about seasoned agents and their experience about risk management issues and what they did to learn, evolve, and grow. And so I just, don't overthink the questions.
That's impossible for me.
But Emily,
I'll do my
since you're
best.
closest to me, looking back at your first year in real estate, what's something you thought you understood about being a fiduciary, but now you realize you didn't fully grasp?
I have a couple, but for the first one, I would say I was helping people that first year buy some short-term vacation rentals and Airbnb, things they were going to rent out short-term, and I didn't fully grasp back then that how quickly those laws change, and that they obviously need to purchase something that will also work from a long-term rental perspective or be ready to sell it if those laws change. The other one that's pretty important is Vinny and I were in a deal, and I used to not think of unpermitted square footage as like a big deal until 5 days before close, someone called the city inspector on an unpermitted, really crappy garage conversion. I don't even know what this was, 2019, something like that. And it would have been my buyer's problem 5 days, 6 days later, but it ended up being Vinny's seller's problem. I still don't even know what happened.
I called you and I was the right person because I was like, I'm going to tell you the red tag. And
Yeah.
instead of basically just letting it close.
There you go, because Vinny does the right thing. And then I don't know what your seller did. Yeah, so it's a bigger deal. So I tell that story actually to anyone that we are putting an offer in on that where there's unpermitted square footage, a bedroom, bathroom, unpermitted garage conversion. I mean, we've sold, since then I've probably sold, 30% of what I sell has something like that. But that one story, it was like a $90,000 bill, right? It was a lot of money that they had redlined this out saying, if you don't fix all this in 90 days, you're going to start getting fined. What's that?
All the neighbors had similar layouts with like unpermitted stuff to it.
Yeah. So I always tell them like, yeah, it shouldn't be a big deal, but, and then I have all my students use that same story.
So
yeah.
unpermitted is important, right?
Unpermitted
And square footage is important.
Sure, yes.
And you document everything in an email to your principal about that conversation you have with them, right?
Of course.
Like it should. Corinne?
So the time I can think of is the way that it's changed was just a couple of years ago. I had a client who had been referred to me. She had been working with another agent for a long time, couldn't find a house. So it was really important to me that I help her find her house. My takeaway now is that we have an understanding of fiduciary duty, but what we don't understand too is that not everybody has that same idea of fiduciary, and other people are watching, and they're taking note. And so this one particular buyer, she wanted to buy a house. She really fell in love with this one house that was a for sale by owner. And that for sale by owner was offering a very, very low percentage. And to me, it was like, of course, it's painful. And this was a time before the NAR settlement, so we could see how much we were being offered. And of course, it was painful. However, my goal is to get my buyer what she wants. And so I, of course, got it for her. Later, the lender calls me and says, I just wanted to say, I noticed how much you got paid on this house, and kudos to you, because no other realtor that I know would have even shown her the house. And it was a very kind of eye-opening moment for me, because I thought, wow, why wouldn't they? I mean, our fiduciary is to take care of our clients, to put their best interests first. She had been looking for years. She finally finds a house. How am I not going to show it to her? So that was.
But now you're a seasoned agent, and now you've learned how to negotiate a higher commission.
Yes,
right?
yes. Well, now we write it into the offer.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Because no likey, no commission, no showing.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. So this is actually a good thing for our industry.
Okay, so my first year, you guys, that was over 35 years ago. I have no idea. I honestly don't remember.
Do you know what fiduciary means?
I knew what fiduciary meant, but back then, we didn't have the litigious experiences that we have now. And it, like, honestly, I would say probably 20 years ago is when it really started, maybe more. I don't know, you've been in the business as long as me, I think.
No, 23.
Okay, so close. So it, like, but honestly, it wasn't.
We did
then.
write the contracts on the hood of our car.
We did. I mean, our contracts were 2 pages long, and we had like 4 copies, and we'd sign them in the driveway, and we didn't have that.
But I was with Prudential, and that's when Prudential started piling disclosures on
Yes,
top
they
of
did.
disclosures.
Yeah.
Because they were the ones being sued a lot.
Yeah, because they were the biggest in the county with, everything, all the offices they had. But I mean, honestly, it didn't start that way. I mean, like Robert said, our contract was 2 pages long. There was, 1 page of agency, and the seller signed it with the buyer's agent, or the buyer signed it with the seller's agent. I don't remember. But it was so different. And there was 1 TDS. Like, that was our disclosure, was 1 TDS, I think, and maybe 1 other document besides the agency. So what happened my first year or 5 years, I honestly can't remember. But I do know that over the years, as we became more diligent in the industry, that's when we started paying attention. Yes, we had to go through ethics and agency and all the things for our continuing ed, and it was taught. But I mean, we would continue ed with our title reps in their offices, and you take chapter 1, you take chapter 2, you take chapter 3, and we would share those ideas. I think RESPA really kind of brought some of this to our attention of, we can't do that, we can't, things changed just over the years. So my first year, honestly, I couldn't even tell you where it started for me.
So what I hear you saying is, when Broker Bob says you can't do this, you can't do that.
I'm like, why not?
It's not really me saying it, right?
Yeah,
You're saying it.
Right, yeah. So.
All the laws that have been put in place.
All the laws that have been in place. Because, I mean, we had the laws, but they weren't really paid attention to until BB came around. Until BB showed up.
Show the hands in this room whenever you get a call from Broker Bob how much you love hearing you can't do that. Anybody? Okay, good. All right. Here's a good one. Can you share a time when putting your client's interest first meant walking away from a deal? Yes. Okay. I'll go to Amy on that.
So, similar to your situation with a non-permitted space, which we disclosed to the buyer was my buyer, forwards and backwards, up and down, in and out. 3 days before close, violation gets slapped on the property. Fortunately, the listing agent called me because we were all just so done with the seller and the chaos of him. So my buyer had already sold her home. Her 30-day rent back was expiring in less than a week. Her daughter, who they were buying this multi-generational illegal property, her daughter had already given notice on her apartment. They had nowhere to live. And my client was out of control. We cancel escrow. We start looking at property again. They were able to secure a rental, a 1-bedroom rental for the 3 of them. And we're looking at property. This is out in Alpine. And we walked into a home. And they were very specific, multi-generational. Mom would live downstairs, daughter and son would live upstairs, or maybe a granny flat, or whatever the case is. They needed their own separate spaces. And we would walk into properties like, let's just see if this one works. We walked into a home that was just a standard cookie cutter, 3-bedroom, 2-bath, all the bedrooms upstairs. Mom is in her 70s. And they went, okay, we're gonna buy this one. We're gonna buy this one. We need a house, we're gonna buy this one. And I talked them out of it because I knew that in 6 months, they would have been so upset that they made a rash emotional decision that they did not need this property. It was not for them. It had a pool, it had whatever it was it wasn't their home. And I convinced them not to buy it. They did end up buying a home about 2 weeks later that was 100% perfect for them, that accommodated the entire family. And that was a year and a half ago just. And I just had lunch with her on Monday, or last week Friday, and she thanks me every time I talk to her for talking her out of that property. I could have gotten the sale and closed it in 2 weeks.
What year was that?
22, 23,
Oh, okay.
24.
They didn't have to move out of their rentals. They could have just stayed there with the.
Yeah, 3 people in a 1-bedroom apartment.
Yeah.
The little boy was sleeping on a blow-up bed, and the mom was on the sofa, and grandma was in the bedroom. I mean,
Yeah, they just have them stay in their rentals. They can't get kicked out. Okay.
So, I had some clients who, they were both clients, and we were looking, for a couple months, and there were 2 homes that they particularly liked. One was a lot higher in price, although it's still in their price point, than another one. The other one that was less in price was the one that they liked a little bit more because it was more renovated. It had, I can't remember details, but and the higher priced one needed a little bit more work. However, it was in a better area. And I'm thinking, resale value in the future. I'm thinking multiple things that we think about when we're helping our clients find the right home. And I couldn't, so I'm trying to explain to them, because they're asking me, which one should we get? And of course, it seems like the one that is higher priced is the one that I'm advocating for. Because that it was not because of the higher price, but because of all these features that I knew it was just a better investment for them and for what they particularly wanted. I think the other one, although it was less expensive, it wasn't, and it needed less work, but the layout was really weird. It was like this maze, and anyway, so I ended up bringing up the compensation, because at that time we could see what it was. The higher priced home was actually, even though it was higher priced, it was offering a lot less compensation than the one that I was, I'm gonna get confused here. Basically, I had to disclose, I would have gotten more on the one that they wanted, but I was getting less for the one that I was encouraging them to buy. I brought that up simply because, and I prefaced it with that, I'm just letting you know this because at that time, it would be disclosed eventually, but because I wanted them to understand that I really had their best interest in mind. I said, even though this one, ultimately, I know it looks like it's a higher price, but I am getting a lot less in compensation. I just want you to understand that I really have your best interest in mind, and this one is the better buy because of this, and I had a list of things. They ended up buying that, and same like that situation. They love their home. It's been a couple of years. They thank me all the time for guiding them to, $70,000 in instant equity. It appraised at $70,000 more than what they paid. Nice. So that point, they also knew, they're like, okay, crazy.
Life for life.
So, yeah.
Amy?
So I've only fired maybe 1 or 2 clients in my career. I think I've had 4 deals fall out. This was one of them. It was in City Heights. I wanted to get rid of these people more than anything throughout this escrow. But we were in escrow with a flipper, a crappy flipper, who had just this foundation was destroyed underneath this house. It was one of those where you're like, well, this one might actually fall over, right? It was really bad. Needed a $60,000 overhaul. They said they would do it. They said they'd gotten under there multiple times. I said, okay, well, we're gonna bring the foundation inspector back. I hope we're clear on this, right? That was part of the deal. It had been written into everything because we had talked about it a lot. And they did it was $60,000 worth of work that was needed. They think they did $2,000 to $3,000 worth. They shored up one joist and they're like, we're good. And now I caution everybody on their flips. Should I say the name? Oh no, I shouldn't say the name. Begins with
They
an
can ask
A,
you.
ends with a police.
Oh.
Okay, so it was just a really bad experience all around. And they just lied about it, right? They did all this work underneath the hood. Then we got the foundation inspector back in there. 4 days before close, I was like so ready to be close to this and then just walk away from these people forever. And I just couldn't let them do it. Full contingencies removed, everything was done, right? Dialed in, last piece was wiring the money. And I was like, guys, this is not acceptable, right? We spoke because they actually tried to keep their deposit. And you'd called it, that was the first time you had ever used the word supervening event with me. And so we got it back, but BB had to call their broker and all that. But yeah, and then I got them into their next escrow shortly thereafter. We closed that, and then I walked away from them. But all I wanted to do was close it and never talk to them again, but it was not in their best interest. And again, it takes a lot for me to fire them, but.
Yeah, so really do your research and find out about the people if you're selling a flip property. Ask them, what else have you done that our buyers can see? And pull them up on the MLS. Do you guys get text messages from people asking, hey, you got any off market that I can flip? So respond to them, great. Can you send me your email address and then a list of all the properties that you have flipped so I can look at them? That'll get rid of them because that text is probably coming from a wholesaler.
Right.
It's not coming from an actual flipper.
And the other piece about this house is, you walk into some flips and like the floor is sloped and sinking.
Oh my God.
This wasn't that bad. So when we actually got the foundation inspector under that I trusted, and he's the type of guy that's like, oh, this doesn't need anything. When the next person before them said it needs 10 grand. So I knew he was truthful, and yeah, just be careful.
So, Amy, if you could tell your rookie self one piece of advice about protecting clients and protecting yourself, what would it be?
What would I tell my rookie self? I don't know. I mean, because we've been doing this for so long and protecting our clients for so long.
You just forgot.
No, it's not that you forget. It's just
remember 30 years ago.
It's 30 years ago. No, it's a natural thing now. It's just the way we are, and I think it's the way we are, anyways. Like, we all have worked with the agents that are full of it and that lie to you, and the investors and the flippers that don't. It's be who you are. How would you treat your brother or your mom or your kids, and treat your clients the same way, and take care of them. Take care of them. Not because you don't want to get in trouble, but because it's just who you are, right? I think that's the best thing I would say. Oh yeah. Well, we don't inspect. That can be good.
Okay.
Yeah, I can answer
Sure.
that too. So constantly ask yourself what that means. Because protecting your client may mean one thing today, but it meant another thing yesterday, and it'll mean another thing tomorrow. So scammers and people are figuring out different ways of scamming. And so you constantly want to come to risk management. You constantly want to take training on the forms. You want to stay up to date. That's the best way to protect your clients, because the meaning of protection and protecting them is evolving constantly.
Cool. Memorialize every conversation in an email like I do now. Like I always do now.
Email or text message? Which is best?
Email is best.
Email is best. And why?
Well, it helps protect you if you were to ever get sued down the line. But it also, one example, and I know this is a little different, but that estimated buyer cost that Mark likes us to get in the beginning, that every other lender and every other agent is like, what are you talking about? Stop asking for this shit. This is weird. We are supposed to get that all in monthly payment up front, right? And have them sign off. I was like, this is so silly when I have to explain this to my lenders. They're like, you're the only agent I work with out of like 100 that makes our clients do this.
Yeah.
It has saved me twice, guys.
Yeah.
2 times these rando lenders, we got to the closing table, my buyers went to sign, and their LE and their CD were their LE was completely different. Loan estimate was completely different from their closing disclosure. And when they went to sign, their payments were, the lowest one was $400 a month extra, and the highest was like $650 a month extra. One was like close friends. Another, I didn't know them from anybody. I hadn't even met them. They were Relo clients. But because I was able to show them what they had signed through me, because I forced it out of the lender to give me that before we even went under contract, it was a 60, these people I didn't know, they walked out. They wouldn't sign with the notary, but a 60-second conversation where I sent that back to them and shared it with them, they were like, oh, you're totally right, this has just been wrong all along. So one example of memorializing something in an email has saved at least 2 deals for me.
And can I jump off that? Because that was actually my same answer for another question. Maybe I should tell you what that is so we can lead into that. What's one mistake you made early in your career that taught you a lasting lesson about representation, disclosure, and documentation? So it's not necessarily a mistake that I made, but the buyer's agent on a listing that I had. So apparently, like you said, not every agent does this buyer net sheet. And we ended up getting to the day before closing escrow, and the buyer's agent texted me that the buyer's going to cancel. And they were okay with giving my seller their earnest money deposit. He wasn't okay with it. He was pissed off at the lender and the agent. But apparently, his question was when he talked to our escrow company, apparently was that he wasn't aware that the HOA fees and that the tax or whatever were not included in the monthly, or not the HOA fees, but the some other fees. He wasn't aware that when he got that monthly payment, he went, what? I can't afford this. How is that possible the day or a couple days before closing escrow? So I went ding, ding, ding. That's why Mark has us do that and BB has us do that when we're representing buyers, because they know the whole time from the get-go when they're putting in an offer how much their estimated cost is going to be monthly. You cannot get to the end of the transaction and just be telling your buyer this is crazy. So absolutely,
wasn't Ed just talking about this?
I wasn't in here. But yes,
Okay.
Yeah, the loan officers
Yeah.
would have all
So-
that. Oh, he just mentioned.
So
in the meeting, too.
whether,
Yeah.
as a buyer's agent, if others get upset at you, like nobody else asks for this, who cares? This is, you're making sure that your client is in the best position to close on that home.
What documents are you two grabbing to start this?
So hers sounds more formal. I literally just go, this is, hey,
Estimated
lender
buyer
and
closing.
buyers. Right, yeah, I don't even do that. Estimated buyer closing costs, but I go all in monthly payment, mortgage principal and interest, this, property taxes monthly, this, homeowners insurance monthly, this, if they have PMI, this, HOA, this, and then I also ask the lender to give an estimated closing cost range.
Right.
And all of my lenders know this already, right? I've been working with them for years, so they'll do it, and then they just reply back. I PDF that email and I have them sign it. That's sufficient if you don't want to go as far as the net sheet, which is a car form.
Okay.
Well, no, I don't use that formal. I don't use the formal one. I do
okay.
use. I get one from the lender. Yeah, I get one
Okay,
from the
cool.
lender.
That
And
works
like
too.
you said, most lenders who I work with are fine with that. But if a buyer has their own lender who I've never worked with, they may sometimes go, "What is this?" But I explain to them exactly the situation, and then they'll usually break it down for me. And I just have my clients initial it at the same time that we're submitting we don't submit it with the offer, but they sign it in that same DocuSign. So it shows like this is what you're offering and this is what you're going to be paying monthly.
So these are property specific, not just for ranges
Yes,
of price.
property specific, exactly. With every offer, I have them do that so they know for this particular home, you're well aware. So they can't come back later and go, wait, I offered this price, but I thought it was going to be this. No, it's this monthly, including HOA or whatever is included.
A lot of dotting of the i's and crossing the
Yes.
t's to CYA.
Yes.
All right.
Yes.
Well, I appreciate your time today, ladies.
That's
Did you guys learn something?
Yes.
Give a round.
I survived. You did. Thanks, Green.
Yeah.
I didn't pass out. I felt like it. The one she was.
And to close, Kelly, I know we didn't talk about this, but remember last week we talked about the listing that's so easy, she took it over the phone?
Yes.
So you want to share your experience in your phone call?
Yeah. So the call came in one afternoon, and he referenced an address which has multiple partials on it, and he said his name really quickly. He said he wanted to sell it right away, and I said sure. And I asked him specifically which partial that he wanted to sell, and he referenced it exactly. And then he said his name, and then I listened to his tonality, his voice. So the name and his accent, number one, doesn't really match up. That's the first thing, I didn't tell you this. And then the second thing was, he was rushing me. And I said, well, let me do some research and let me get back to you. I did not text or send him any information that afternoon. So I pick up the phone, I contact Title, and I said, hey, Michelle, I need you to look into this. You know, I'm a little suspicious about it, but I just want to make sure this is real. And then she did not get back to me over the weekend. I contacted BB on her.
Friday afternoon, 6 o'clock, I was already in the hole.
So that was the next day, and I said, BB, I took this listing, but I am not doing anything with it. I'm not launching it until I hear back from Title. And I sent Title an email, just exactly my concern, and then the Title manager got involved as well. And so the gentleman called back, and he said, how come my listing is not launched yet? It's only vacant land. So I asked him very specific questions, like, when was the last time you've been there? And are you related to other owners that, nearby properties that, this one place is really weird. It's one address, but it has like 5, 6 partial numbers on it. So that was the first clue. The second clue was his name and his accent doesn't really match in my world, and he was rushing me. So that was the third clue.
So first thing, vacant land. Second thing, accent and name. And third thing, he didn't want to meet with you in person. He wanted to do everything over the phone.
He was actually in Arizona.
No, he was in India. You just didn't know that. He was in India.
So I asked him for his driver's license, and he said, what do you want my driver's license? I said, sir, by all means, I only know your voice, your phone number, and your email address. What do you want? He said, what do you want my driver's license? So his driver's license matches with the name on it, and then on one of the partials, his middle name was spelled out, but his other partial, the middle name was abbreviated. So, yeah.
Friday afternoon, got taken care of. Great job. You guys have been great. Go make it a great day.